and I'd seen black dudes get killed, and I am a black dude, and they were getting killed for nothing. So this was an example where I was just scooped up in it. This is why I posted it, because I'm not, for all of my friends that I've ever connected with or ever met, like, you know me, like, like, I'm not maybe one of the people you see on TV that you can't connect with and be like, but he's black, so we don't know. Okay, this is, I am black and you know me, and this is just happening, and I can't do anything.
At Aristotle's Cafe, we're always interested in having people speak from experience and share their opinions. We typically have group discussions online and offline, and we've been running these for the past 14 years. But in light of current situations, it was really important for me to start highlighting a certain voice, and that is the black voice in America. Now, I've been getting asked a lot of questions about what's going on in the US because of the protests, because of COVID-19, because of all sorts of other things, and I didn't feel comfortable representing on my own. It's always important for me to bring experience to the table and let people speak from their own background, their own beliefs. And I'm super excited to have the chance to sit down with Eric Dawkins, a friend and someone who I went to high school with, who I haven't been in contact with for about 15 or 16 years, who is intelligent, athletic, smart, and who recently made a post on Facebook about his experience with the police. And so, in this conversation that we're going to have, you're going to hear us catch up with just how life has been for him and what he's been up to and all the amazing things that he's been doing. And then what it's been like for him and what this experience has brought to his life and what he thinks about the Black Lives Matter movement and what he thinks about what needs to happen in the US today and what he'd like to have heard from his experience. So I hope that you guys enjoy it. Give it a like, a share, a comment. And again, Aristotle's Cafe is for all people and for all voices to be heard. And so if you'd like to have your voice heard, just reach out to us if you want to get interviewed or if you want to join one of our sessions that are online and the discussions that we're having for free. Now, I invite you to take the time to join me in having another discussion that matters. Your video that you put up was really articulate and really authentic and honest. And yeah, and like I just, it's so funny too because so I don't even know if I want to jump into that first because to be honest, I'm super curious about like what you've been up to and like what you're doing now and you know all that stuff.
Yeah. So we met in high school. Did you
Yeah,
wrestle too?
yeah. How old are you? Because I'm 33 and I thought you're a year older than me, but
I'm 35, but I turned 35 this year. So I think
mm,
you're probably a year under me, maybe.
yeah. Well, like so for me, I was like when I the way that I remember you is I was like, man, Eric was like super athletic. Like I remember in wrestling, I remember being like, "Does Eric even sweat? Like, what's going on?" Like I remember being like, "Man, this guy's so uh, like ridiculous." And then I remember you ran track also, or played football, or both. I
Yeah.
don't
I
know.
By my senior year, I was running cross country uh, and doing football, and then wrestling during the winter season and outdoor track during the spring. So yeah, I stay pretty athletically busy, and you know, high school work. I was in the AP classes and like honors. Millbrook, my one of my friends just reminded me. He was like, "Yeah, bro, you were on the honor society. That's like top 5%." So yeah, I hit those books. I was doing school, and then the coaches, they kept me in line. My mom had always kept me in sports and activities because she knew I was super physical at home, and she just needed to keep me busy and like meeting coaches, and just I met a lot of people through the sports that I did, and a lot of different people, of course, from being in in athletics as opposed to being in academics. So I got to see both of those worlds, and just when you're young, you don't. When you're young, you're like, life is tough. So it's not like, oh, because I'm black, this is hard. It's just, I got a lot to learn and I got a lot to do. And that dude over there is faster than me. And that dude over there, that lady over there, she's smarter than me. She's gonna get these grades. I don't want to be at the bottom part of that curve. I want to be in that curve. So yeah, I did a lot and I saw a lot. And then after college or after high school, I went to college. I went to Chapel Hill and I studied biomedical engineering there. I graduated in 4 years and I started working at DuPont in RTP after school. In school, I also ran track for 2 years, just 2 years in school at university. And I started dancing. I started dancing heavily in college. And after college, I actually got a job teaching at a studio in Hillsborough, North Carolina, which was not far from Chapel Hill. And so I would work at DuPont and RTP. And then on maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 or 3 times a week, I would go teach at the studio. And I taught hip hop at the time. And I had, done freestyle dance and a little choreography in school. So I joined some dance teams there, which they taught me how to learn dance. But after that, I taught hip hop classes, and they also would let me sit in or take the ballet classes with the kids. So I was getting the vocabulary in there and just expanding my knowledge there. And while I was teaching at that studio, they would also take me to conventions, which was super supportive. And from there, I ended up auditioning for So You Think You Can Dance. And I made it to Vegas, was surrounded by so many more dancers. And knowing a couple people that lived in LA, I actually decided to move to LA and pursue dance. I worked a little bit in California, still doing some engineering to have a job while I was integrating myself in entertainment. And then once I started booking more jobs and needed to take off more work, I started to switch more to just the entertainment. Some accomplishments in LA, I toured with Jason Derulo during one of his promo CD or his promo tour for one of his CDs. It was super dope. He's such a great guy, like internationally known. I had one-on-one conversations with the guy in the middle of the club. Like he's down, like so cool. And I got nothing but love for that dude, like positive stuff. And the people in the crew, they were going hard. So one cool thing about, I'll say it's cool. Like one of the guys was just like, yo, like this is a really good group of people, international, and they hired all brothers doing this job. Like Jason has like international dancers, like all types. But for the tour that I was doing, it was cool. It was a bunch of black dudes, and there were girls too, and non-black girls as well. But it's cool to like be a part of a vibe, like be amongst your people. My people's all people's, but like when you get to recognize things like that and just be like, yo, look at us doing some positive stuff. So that was really nice and touching for me. I also did some performances with Ricky Martin, one of those including a performance on Ellen. So just names, just so cool to be around. And the really great part about those entertainment experiences is when you actually meet those people, they're also genuinely interested in what you're doing. They're like, yo, y'all dancers were dancing. That's so cool. Y'all want to talk? Oh, wait, I have to go. I actually have a show to do. So they're like, wow, did you want to be my friend? That's what So, also while in LA, I actually recently did a movie. I don't even think I can talk about it. So hopefully the movies come back open and everyone can go see it.
Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble, man.
Nah, they're not gonna get me in trouble. Come find me and listen to this story. And then everything that I have said will be much more payment than, well, maybe not for the movie, but everything is good. All is good.
But Eric, I gotta ask you too, though, is like I think so for me, to be honest, I think the real interesting thing is like, I really remember when I was in high school, like, and also too, it sounds so weird to say that, like, I don't really keep in touch with anyone from high school that much, like a few people, but I mean, it's funny because like I always really respected you. I respected your work ethic, and also like I don't know why I knew that, but like I knew that. Oh, there we go. Um,
Got a animal farm here, man.
but I don't know why I knew that, but like I knew that you had good grades and you're like a good athlete. I think because you were a leader on the wrestling team. Like I think
Mm.
like it must have been highlighted. And I mean like I guess one question that I have for you is like one thing is that so you're a engineer that's a professional dancer, right? That's like a professional artist, in the professional and entertainment industry. And like what made you so excited to be so like well-rounded, or what pushed you to be so well-rounded in your life and just how you pursue things? Because it seems like, I mean, you are, right? I mean, that's
Yeah, yeah. Like I think of it no other way. Like, um, I just my mom, she raised me, and it was just my mom and I in Raleigh, North Carolina. I think my sister lived with us for a little bit, but she's 13 years older than me, so she was spreading her wings. But like, yeah, my mom kept me busy, I think, so I didn't get bored and distracted to do too many other things. Now, I played video games too, and I didn't necessarily read books for fun. Like, I didn't, I mean, I had comic books and stuff. Like, I played Pokemon. Like, I had fun, but then I also liked to do the things that I was doing in school. Like, I liked when it worked out. I liked when I got the problem right. And then in athletics, like, I like pushing myself hard. I guess maybe because I have the ability to. I like to see how hard I could go, and I didn't want to not be working hard when there were other people that were working harder, and like their effort. I wanted to be worthy of that too.
Hmm.
So yeah, just my mom was working really hard, setting that example at home. So I was just like, well, I this is the way to go. This is what you have to do. So I did that, and I had a good network of friends too. Like I mentioned, they may have come from the athletic backgrounds or from the educational background. So my peers definitely kept me in line with the that competition of just wanting to be there, and we helped each other out. So if we brought that to the board, like, yo, I'm not doing so good in this subject. Are you doing this right? We would spend time doing that because we also liked to do that. Like, I remember spending time on the phone. Like, probably the most amount of time I ever spent on the phone was doing physics with my best friend. So like that was what we did. And I guess I just wasn't too distracted to do too many other things. I mean, my mom kept the balance okay. Like, if my grades were dropping, then I probably wouldn't be able to play video games. But I like to play video games, so I better get them grades, like them grades right. It wasn't even a problem. I mean, she didn't. She would tell me that she didn't really have to coach that too much because I just did it. But like, if it wasn't appearing right, I remember when, like, I think one time in elementary school when the grades were just like a commendable, satisfactory, or fail. One time I got a satisfactory, and I didn't really pay attention to stuff that much, and it was in something I didn't even know. Maybe it was like English, like satisfactory in English. She was like, "Why did you get a satisfactory in English?" And I didn't even know. Like, I'm just like, "Yo, I do the work. I'm fine, but grades matter." Now I know. Like, that was like a I don't know what's going on. Like, how am I getting caught? Like, even if you do stuff, maybe you talk too much or something. You're like, yeah, we got to fix this because my mom can't find out. Is the whole world knows I'm being bad? No way, can't.
But
So
well, yeah, man, like it's that's interesting. Like, and then how was it for you to move from being like biomedical engineer, did you say? Like
yeah,
biomedical engineer to then make that transition and take that risk? Were you really like systematic about it, or were you like did you just make the jump, or how did you decide to do that?
I mean, honestly, like, with I was a year out of school, and I actually had no clue like what the future held in either in engineering. Like I didn't know. Like I mean, I knew go to school, get a job, right? And so like I had a job, lucky, like great. And so I would have been in there. But when I had to like take off work to go do So You Think You Can Dance, like I like told the people and they were like, "Oh, dope, man. Like that's really cool." I was like, hey, I gotta go do this little thingy. And I like never really like taken off of work. And they were like, "Oh, that's like so cool." And then when I got back from that, my roommate when our lease was almost up, we were living on Brent Road in state territory, right? And he was like, "Eric, are you moving to LA?" And I had never really mentioned that. I never really thought of it. He kind of put it out there. He's like, "Eric, are you moving to LA?" Like, just everyone thought the best for me. Like everyone thought like, "Oh, you can do it. You're gonna do it." And I was like, "Huh? Oh, yeah, maybe." So that's when it really started turning like, "Oh, maybe I should go." And I like looked at what's going on in LA. So this is what happened. I actually responded to some Craigslist ads for dancers, and I would like send a photo that I had and like a resume, like not even like an entertainment constructed resume, but like a resume that I had maybe with some of the stuff that I had done, like captain of the wrestling team and on the dance team, kamikaze dance team.
Okay, cool.
So like I sent that there and I would get responses and I'd be like, okay, I'm not actually there. Can this work out? And so just having seen that my image might work in LA, like I kind of saw that out and I talked to some people that live there and just like, how does it go? Because I didn't even know how that worked either. But people explained it to me and then I took the jump because that's just what you hear. Like, just like go to school, get a job, start a family, also follow your dream, make the jump, like, you got to do it. And at work, when I had mentioned, hey, I'm thinking of, moving to LA, like they were like, oh, wow, like really great. Like you're young, you're single, like not married, right? And they're just like, I used to play guitar when I was younger and I wish I had kept playing. I used to do this. That's when they're all like, all of their stuff comes out. And it's like, oh, okay. Like no one's saying no, not even my mom. My mom was like, oh, I knew you'd do it. I knew you were going to do it. And I was like, how come nobody is saying like that's not a good idea, like, except for me. Like, so that's what encouraged me to go do it. Like, cause I still took the mentality of, go to school, get a job, like hustle to get that goal with me when I went to LA. It just was a new realm, a new world to like break into the entertainment, especially not having studied that. But I had to kind of just cling on to what I knew and who I knew and try to work from there. Luckily, having had the strong foundation of education with the schools that I had gone to and with the strong foundation and support of a strong mother and the family that I also had.
Is your mom still, so your mom's still in North Carolina and then you're in
Well,
California?
she recently moved to Baltimore, closer with my sister.
She seems like a strong lady, man. Sounds like
Yeah,
she's a real good influence, and I mean,
yeah. Mom's is the one. Like I don't even know how she did it because sometimes I'll talk to her about things and she'll be like, "No, that's not how it happened." But I like the way you think of it. I'm like, oh, that's how I remembered it. You were just like, do it. But I think she had more calculations going like on. Like she did good. Even though and sometimes maybe she didn't know what or how. She just did. And I just saw that. Like I just saw that and I was like, okay, I gotta do it too, like for moms.
yeah, yeah, man, that's so nice. I mean, like, it's interesting, like, even for, like, I think even like what you're saying about taking that jump, like when I was studying and then I was pretty young and then I was also like, if I don't travel now, then I might never travel. And that's what made me go and take a flight to Thailand and to Asia. And it's funny because I also see that same look that you said other people gave you, like or I used to want to do that, or I used to want to do this, and it's always so interesting when you can see how excited they are for like what you're up to. It's really nice. I think they never would actually do it themselves, maybe, right? But they're like encouraging that you might do it, like you might be crazy enough to do it. So, but that's cool that you did, man. That's amazing. Yeah, it's funny, dude. I had so many different ideas for what we might talk about and how, like, because part of it is that, so at Aristotle's Cafe, like part of what we do is we sit down and we have discussions with groups of people. And one of the most important things about that for me is just that making sure that everyone has a voice. And like, I guess, you know it's interesting because like right now, more and more, the voice that I'm getting asked to represent is the American voice, right? Because we work internationally, we have discussion groups. Like, the other day we had people on from China, from Dubai, from Thailand, from Europe, from like all over the place. And they begin to ask me, because it's international news, like more and more, like, what is going on in America? And
Yeah.
I think you can't, I mean, you and I cannot speak for everyone, right? But it's really important for me that I give people voice, and especially like from the Black perspective, and give someone voice from that perspective, because it's something that people in my community and worldwide really want to know about. They really want to hear, like, what's going on. you know is life horrible? Is this a hopeful time? Is this a you know what is going on? And I can speak from my experience, but I definitely cannot speak for other people's experience. And that's what Aristotle's Cafe is about. And so I wanted to give you the opportunity to do that, to speak from your own experience about anything, really, like about whatever you want to talk about. And I'm here to listen and just to take in what you have to say, and also to guide the conversation in ways that are really interesting for me and would be healthy, healing, interesting for both of us to talk about. So I don't know if you want to dive into that or if you have thoughts, but I would love to know.
Yeah. So my experience as a black male in the United States, I mean, I've been basically describing it. Uh, I I'm black. I know I'm black. However, because of maybe my skin color, people like to they they like to assume that I'm not just black as well. They like to assume like, and I don't always hate it because like sometimes it's interesting that they would want to include me in there. Like I've had, white people be like, I'm pretty sure you're part white, or even Japanese people will be like, I think that, at some point there were Japanese people in the United States, like back in the day, and they meshed with the Native Americans, and then, you're 16th Native American, so you kind of Japanese, you have like, you act a little Japanese. And like, I love that because I love like Asian culture and all cultures. But so that's really interesting to hear. And I am like, I have a great 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 grandfather that is Native American. So there that can go. But from what I know, my father is Black African American. My mom is Black African American. So that is how I grew up, and that is what I know. So when other people want to throw other stuff at me, it's new to me, but it's like, that's interesting for you. But I'm Black, but sometimes I am not all the way Black, maybe because of where I grew up, how I went to school, how I talk, maybe what I wear. Yeah, but with the incident that I just had described, it didn't matter that, you know, maybe they could see how I stood, maybe my posture, but my posture also comes with the physique of an athlete, which could be seen as dangerous.
Eric, can you
Long,
can you because I'm worried, like I want to make sure that people get that story, and I don't really want to make you tell it again, but I think it is important
No, I
because
will.
then people know. So
Yeah, no problem. So another one of the black things that I was doing at the time for me was studying yoga. I I was interested. I'm always interested in learning new stuff, and my main goal with yoga teacher training was to be able to instruct myself and to spread the knowledge just from actually having studied it intensely for me. Um, so I was doing yoga teacher training. It was about the end of the training time and we were getting ready for the exam. So I was at home studying yoga. It's hot in LA. So I was just in some athletic shorts, no shirt, sitting. I hear some loud bangs, which we usually associate in the neighborhood that I was at with fireworks. It happens like very randomly. It's usually fireworks because we don't want to think of gunshots. And the first few times you're like, oh, it's gunshots, you might feel a little scared. But usually it sounds like fireworks. However, I heard the chopper overhead and the lights shining in my neighborhood. So I went outside to check it out because I also saw my other neighbors out there. Like I wasn't just going to go walk into like a police chase. I have some sense. So I walk out, stand on the stairs, and the chopper shines the lights down um, on us, a group of neighbors, you know, just checking it out. Um, and then we talk, exchange some words. I go back inside and just relax. So it was my neighbor that had actually called the police because he recognized the sounds as gunshots. And I think he might have been outside at the time. And he had seen uh, the people possibly interacting or leaving the scene at the time. So he has a daughter. He calls the police because he wants to keep the neighborhood safe. So it's all good. Um, I then, as I'm sitting at home studying, get a knock on the door. It's the police. I mean, this has happened before where police are just wondering what's what. And so I'm okay with this to describe like, oh yeah, okay, I heard what I thought were fireworks. This is me thinking what's going on. So when I open the door, and they're like, hey, do you live here? I'm like, yeah, I live here. Is anyone else here with you? I'm like, no, my girlfriend, she's not home right now. She's at work. Uh, and nobody else lives here. They're like, no one else lives here. Have you had any people over, had any parties or anything? And I was like, no. This sounded like police speak, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, no, I don't have anything else for you. And they'd ask, uh, I guess they had asked like, I don't think at this time they had asked if I knew of anything going on. They were just like, anyone live here? Like, what's up? And I'm like, nobody. Like, it's just me. And so then they asked me to come out to step outside because there's like 4 or 5 cops here, and they're all kind of looking inside. And I'm talking to them like, yes, I live here, and this is what's going on. I'm not expecting any trouble because to me, I'm not a suspect. I know what I've been doing. So they asked me to step outside, and like I'm thinking they just again want to just check me out, like. But they asked me to step outside. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then they asked me to like face that way, face in the other direction, put my hands behind my back, and get on my knees as I'm getting handcuffed. And I was like, where did I go wrong? Like, what did I do? What did I say wrong? How did I like give them the idea that I'm not telling the truth at the same time of me having this panic attack? I know that I can't show panic. Like I know that I can't. My cat actually ran outside as I had opened the door, and I had like gone to kind of go reach for the cat, but at the same time I was like, you can't make any quick moves. Like you have to deal with the police. Yet I wanted to be normal, friendly, the guy who I am.
yeah.
Help cats out. And yeah, but no, not the time. So now as I'm getting handcuffed and I'm on the ground, I don't really know what my out is. I don't know what they want. They're also yelling into my home like, come out with your hands up. We are coming in, kind of stuff. And I'm like, who are they talking to? At the same time, I'm like, yo, if maybe they saw somebody sneak up into my house that I didn't know, like, yes, you got to go get them. Like, I wanted to work out. I'm thinking all positive because I have done nothing negative. I haven't experienced nothing negative except for just be looking outside like anybody else got. But so they went through my apartment. It was a 1-story apartment or 1-bedroom apartment at the time. They went through living room. I don't know what they were going through. I didn't want to look peak. I didn't want to seem suspicious, seem worried, because I already had to mask the worry of like what's going on. They had told me, I do remember hearing one of the officers being like, "We'll let you know in a second." Like, so all of this is happening to me. I'm trying to figure out like what I remember learning with like probable cause and search warrants. Because I'm like, yo, are you supposed to have a search warrant to come up in someone's house? But I don't want to argue. Like, I can't argue that kind of stuff. And like, they were just like, "We'll let you know in a moment." They'll like brief you with what's going on. And I'm like, so they just do this. They just rip dudes out their house and like let you know when. So I'm wilding, and I'm also like I'm scared that I won't be able to hold my tongue. Like, I am worried that I'm not gonna be so nice because I'm also in an uncomfortable like situation. Like, I'm handcuffed and I don't want to be, and I do want to yell. I do want to be like, this is not right. I want to yell for help. Where are my neighbors? How come nobody's out here? Like, there's like grips of cops. They heard the footsteps. Like, I mean, this is wild. So and I was alone. Like, it was just me with all of them, and my word had already been like no. So I was worried. I was worried that if anything like popped off, like I was in China. I toured with an artist, a Taiwanese artist, Jolyn Sai. She's amazing. When I think it was Ferguson had happened and Trump had gotten elected and those times. So when I was in China and I saw what was going on in the U.S., I was like the foreign friends, just like, what's going on? Is it even safe there? Like, can anyone go outside? Like, what's happening? And I'd seen black dudes get killed, and I am a black dude, and they were getting killed for nothing. So this was an example where I was just scooped up in it. This is why I posted it, because I'm not, for all of my friends that I've ever connected with or ever met, like, you know me, like I'm not maybe one of the people you see on TV that you can't connect with and be like, but he's black, so we don't know. Okay, I am black and you know me, and this is just happening. And I can't do anything. But if I do something, like who knows where it could end up. So my girlfriend ends up coming home, and she drives through like into like her parking area and gets out the car and sees me there, handcuffed, down on my knees, all the cops around, searching the house. She's like, what's going on? What did he do? Like she knows me. So she knows like, yo, like, how could this happen? What? And I'm wondering, like, what are they going to tell her that I'm sitting here like this? So, and she's wilding. So she's a quarter Japanese and Caucasian. So she's like, wow, her upbringing was different than mine, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone's upbringing is different. So she's yelling. She's like energy, and like I have seen her use her energy before to get things done where I would not have. And so this was another instance where she was able to do this and she was listened to, and they came to her. And like for me, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess, because I was in the house and they needed to search and everything. But she put it in perspective for me, because she was like, well, what if I was in the house? Would they pull me out, put me on the ground, handcuff me, and turn me around? And I was like, yo, you're right. I never seen that. I never seen that before. Like, I'm not looking for it neither, but usually I see a Latin American person or a black person on the side of the road, like handcuffed on the street. And like, yeah, you're like, what did they do? Dang, what happened? And that was me, just handcuffed. Like, my apartment doesn't face the street, luckily enough. But anybody riding around, like, they're gonna see, oh well, that guy in apartment number 2 wilding. But no, this was just me getting ripped up out my home and then tearing up through it. And yeah, it felt weird because the cops probably didn't expect my articulate speech maybe to come out. And maybe they saw like my muscular stature, but I was not forceful. And because like, I have was practicing yoga, like I was able to be flexible enough with my muscles to get handcuffs on behind my back. Otherwise, yo, that's just not a comfortable situation. And so I was a rag doll for them to practice with and to put down. They they were not mean to me. Like no one was like that. And yeah, it did kind of feel like they were like, yeah, looks like we're gonna have to go through with all of the steps here, but sorry, dude. Like, oh well, cause like, yeah, that just it just all sucked. I don't know the procedure. I don't know any. I don't know why it was right, why it was okay for them to do that, but I just know that from what I had seen, they be doing it, and from what I experienced, yeah, it be done. And I am I am just like any other black person to the police, to the United States, regardless of my credits, regardless of my speech, my stance, like shut them down. I got, you know, as free as I might think that I have been growing up with all colored friends, going out with them, getting in trouble for things that kids get in trouble for, like with all types of people, as like many possible buys that I may have gotten because of whom I have been surrounded by. When I was by myself, I am that black guy still, and they are going to shut me down here. Like there's just a reminder, as far as elevated as you might be trying to go, like they can still just clock 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 get out. We doing this. That's what I thought I seen in the movies. Like, you know, any movie talking about LA and then get straight out of Compton. When they got pulled up out of the recording studio, they were just chilling. And we watched their story. Yeah, they might have had some bad past, but at the moment, they weren't doing nothing but being in that area. That was me. I was just in that area. So what had happened was there was a some kind of dispute, domestic dispute with an interracial couple, and apparently there were gunshots involved. And I think my neighbor had said that he had actually seen the lady. She had the gun. She was fleeing with the gun. So I get it, maybe probable cause, like, yo, we're looking for that interracial couple where they live at, and this is it. So we got to go talk to these people. So yeah, but again, I don't think they would have snatched my lady up out of the house like that, you know. So why did they have to meet? Because they didn't have to meet. I was super compliant. I was super like, I mean, for me, I was like, yeah, curious as to what's going on, but I was following all directions. Yet they felt that they needed to do that, and I just don't feel like it's fair. Maybe it may be necessary because people be wilding out there in the streets. I understand that, but I got to see all people's getting snatched up then. And so I don't know if it's a media thing or if it's an actual police brutality thing. I just know that if I had not been in my right mind at that moment, I could have been in a worse situation because all triggers were pushed here. Like, why are you taking me out of my home? I have not been doing, I don't wish I was doing something bad, but dang, I was studying. Can a black man live? I'm trying to do good. Like, I am doing good. Yeah, you want to remind me that it's hard for us. So then it's like, can I live? Like, without that, without all of that, like, like I don't think that I should. But yeah, that's what happened. My lady came home. They realized that we are good, and they questioned her. They were like, you know him, you live with him. She's like, she was like, no, that is my home. I live there, you know, with him. Yeah. So, and so her saying that to me was like, okay, she's responsible for this. Do y'all not want to like handcuff her and put her down, or so you can peacefully check this place out? Or no, you just have to handcuff me and put me down for whatever reason. So they ended up letting me go and kind of and leaving, and that's it. They left me a card with the number, the incident report, I guess, and if I wanted to follow suit, but I didn't. I wanted to just get that out of my head. Like a lot of people are like, yo, you know, you got to take them to trial. You got to do this, you got to do that. But you know, I didn't want to. I mean, I didn't want to do no more. So that's why I step forward now, giving my story to people that might think like, oh, you know, all of them is bad, or he probably was doing something bad, or it was only time until, or people that are just like, dang, that sucks, living their day. Because what I see now is we need this change, because it seems like it's getting worse, or at least it is. It doesn't always happen like that for people like me, you know. And from some stories that we're hearing, believing them to be as they are, it's terrible. Getting shot up in your home just for sleeping, getting like knelt on just for walking, just because where you are, just because of how they're doing. I have to say I'm blessed for the cops that were called in, and none of them were trigger happy at the moment, or not having a good day, or for whatever they were feeling like. Because if they had been, we could have clashed, and that would not have been good. I mean, you know me as the guy who is strong. I still, you know, practice physical force and physical things. I'm still a physical person. And like, I could have needed to feel like I wanted to be more heard then, but I just wasn't ready to lose my life. Straight up, like straight up. I was scared, and I knew that I may not have been able to take out all of these gentlemen and women. Like I didn't want to have to deal with that, and that just me fighting cops doesn't seem like the right thing to do. So, like that just wasn't an option, even though I felt like I was so wrong. And people that do know me a little more, they know I have a mouth. I will speak till right, and that even there, I did not feel like they needed or wanted to hear much out of me, because they have their way. I don't experience cops a lot. I don't want to. Um, I always see them as doing the right thing. That is how I felt when I opened the door. Like, y'all need some information? I'll give you what I know. Fireworks. That's what I thought. Talk to you later. But it didn't go down like that. So that's just, now I have it. I mean, I'm still not causing no trouble, but I have to be safe. I see online, I see people teaching their kids how to deal with the police, teaching their kids how to, you know, if somebody does grab you, if a policeman grabs you, how to deal with that. That's not like, that's not every types of people are teaching their kids that, because they don't have to. But for Black kids, this is how we have to deal with that. It's like, you know, so that sucks. That's unfortunate. So that was a sucky experience to go through, especially when you're just trying to learn yoga. But I see a lesson in all things, so I could have just either needed that lesson for myself, but as we see here, I need to, you know, share that lesson with others possibly.
No, man, I appreciate it. I mean, no, I really, really appreciate it. I think, like, also, you know, it's interesting, like some of the small details that you have in your story that you naturally say. I think it's also, you know, what too is really nice is that this is as unscripted as a conversation as you can get, right? Like, it's not like, you know, you don't really have any agenda. Like, I don't have any agenda, right? And that's not, it's something that I think not everyone gets the chance to see. And like, you have a vested interest in telling the story because it affected you and you find it important to tell because you hope it'll help people or help shed some light in a way. Because as you said, like it is, like humans have a big problem. And part of what we do as people is we think that the stuff um, that happened good to us is because we worked hard, and we think that the bad stuff that happened to other people is because they were acting bad, right? It's like a
Yeah.
really dumb thought process. Like it's like, and then if something bad happens to us, it's because we're unlucky, right? But if
Yeah.
something good happens to someone else, it's because they're lucky. It's not because they worked hard at it, right? It's like a complete mind bend, and people do it all the time. And I think you're right, like about, there's these stereotypes of people. And I gotta say, like for me too, like again, like when I think of someone that, even like, we haven't talked in how long? Like, I think we haven't talked in like
Dude, in like 20,
15,
18.
I think 15 years, right? Since we last, 16 maybe. Yeah. Like, and even then, it's so it's so interesting because, you know, your that post came up on my Facebook page, and I was like, oh cool, that's Eric. Like, hey, I like that guy. I haven't seen him in a while. I wonder what's up. Why did Facebook bring this on my page, right? And then I'm looking, I was like, oh man, the story that you told is so much how I think I would have dealt with it too. Like you know, I would also just open the door and been like, yeah, there's fireworks. I think people went that way. I mean, thanks, bye guys, right? And
Yeah.
when you're saying, can I ask, like, because that's also is that so you made a comment, you're like, when I put, when they handcuffed me, that I was flexible enough to do it, and that I'm like physically able to do it. That's lucky. Why'd you make that comment? What do you mean?
Because usually when I like have seen or experienced handcuffs, like um, it's sometimes a struggle to put like people don't usually that it when someone pushes you underwater, you want to come back up. When someone grabs your arm, bro, we wrestled. When people grab your arm and bring them behind your back, you don't want them there. They just don't naturally go there. So like I, having the muscles that I do have, like this is not an easy situation to be in. It's not an easy position to be in. So like I had to relax because I didn't want him pushing me. I didn't want him struggling. Like I am bare kneed, bare chested, and like I didn't want to get roughed up on the sidewalk here or against the house. Like I didn't want there to be need for any of that because I knew that the people doing it to me, I was stronger than. I know what I trained and I know my physical ability and I know that they could see that. So we didn't need a problem at all. So I'm just like, I don't think I have a trigger. I don't pop off. I don't physically fight people, but this is such a new situation for all parties involved because you never met Eric Dawkins before. You really don't know him. So we need to get through this so we all are going to be okay here. Cause yeah, those little handcuffs, it just, yeah,
Yeah, it's like weird, right? Like, it's like, yeah, that's true. It's like, and then, yeah, and at the same time, you answer the door, and like, you're a physical guy, so you're athletic, and then in one way that might be intimidating, or they might think twice about that instead of if like some small skinny guy. And also, yeah, I mean, that's makes a lot of sense, man. I mean, I think, yeah, that's such a crazy story. I mean, it's such a crazy story, and I think too, it's one of those stories too that I think, another thing too that I just reflecting back on what you said is like, part of what I'm hearing is that, you know when you're throughout your life, you actually didn't even associate this with, like, you didn't even actually associate this with being black. Like, you didn't actually, that wasn't even your first thought. You're just like, why? And throughout most of your life, you're saying that some things happen and you kind of got lucky and you're with a group of people that might be white or mixed or whatever race it might be, and then you guys kind of got out a little bit easier than you thought, even though you might be nervous or kind of lucky things happen. But like in this case, it was real bad. It was real uncomfortable. It was really like degrading. It was like pushing you on the edge. You're worried about 1,000 different things, and then you were still just thinking like, man, that was so stupid that they did that. And then your girlfriend at the time was like, no, this was an example of
Yeah,
prejudice and racism.
because like, bro, like, I mean, I'm black and I'm proud to be black. However, you know, when you are a certain minority in a bigger pool of fish, not everyone wants to hear your struggle. And more often than not, you will hear why they gotta be like that, or why are they always complaining, or what are we gonna do about slavery, or something like that. You're gonna hear that stuff, and like you don't necessarily want to carry the burden of your whole race on you. Not saying that you won't, not saying that you aren't already. Yeah. So like I mean, maybe I had also kind of carried into that where I don't want to be like, man, it's because I'm black that y'all got me like this. Because I'm not necessarily stopping there. I'm like, yo, what is it? Because y'all supposed to be good. Y'all should be smarter than this. So how are we gonna deal with this? What's going on? Oh, but sometimes you're thinking steps ahead, but they're like, no, it's because you're black. Like, so you're just like, yeah, you kind of got to realize it. So that's why I'm here, because yeah, I sit and watch the news too, and I'm like, okay, like, maybe there's more to the story. I definitely want to hear more to the story, because this is what they're gonna let me see. This is what they're gonna let me know. But now I'm living this story, and I know all that happened, and I'm like, so what's the problem? Like, I can't work out, I can't be built, I can't live here. Like, what is it? Like, I don't want to be treated like a fast car. Like, you can't have, if you have this car, you're going to get pulled over. I don't want to be that. I'm a real sentient, like, soul bearing human being. Like, just because I look a certain kind of way, like, you're okay to do this. Like, that's not fair. That's just not fair. And like, having been an example of it, for first off, like, I was like, man, I just want to get over this. But now with the way things are, like, that's not the way for at least me to interact with it anymore. And yeah, maybe I'm not in the streets because I'm older, I can't be caught out there wilding with them like that, but what the younger generation is doing, they're doing what they do. And so I needed to do something, and that's why I made that post. And like, another thing I had said is just like, a lot of people, I initially put the post on Facebook when it had happened, and like, a lot of people were like, oh my god, so glad you're okay, so glad you're okay, oh my god, I can't believe this happened to you, so glad you're okay. And it's like, I had mentioned that they weren't saying it because there were gunshots in my neighborhood. They were saying it like, we're glad you're okay because you had an experience with the cops. We're glad you're okay because it, from when I usually see it, it ain't like that. Like, so it's just, it's real. It is actually this stuff. And now people are opening their eyes to it. But then there are still people that are like, oh, okay, that's them. Let them fix it. Like, okay, they're going to do that, but I still got this to worry about, or, you know, so it's just kind of like, nah, we need to be heard here. Like, it involves all people here. This just shouldn't be happening. Like, like, people care about what they eat and what they put in their bodies, like, so much. But, and, like, we let that go, so you should care about the people too. And we are the people here. Like, this is such a good time of education. Like, there's so much like being shared, and there's so much that we have learned that it's just like, okay, so this isn't gonna work anymore. And these times they're just harsh, especially coming off of this quarantine and all of that. Like people ready to go. I saw one guy post, he was like, I don't have a job right now because of coronavirus, so this is my job, like protesting and spreading it. And I'm like, wow, that is so right. Like, you ain't got nothing else to do, then you are so connected to this. It's summertime. All the kids this is all they hear. This is all we are all seeing. So, like, I don't want to be silent. I had an experience, and, some people's message only reaches like their funnel, whoever's in their funnel. I want to make sure that my people are also hearing it too, because I know that they might be thinking like, oh, they might be thinking like when we grew up, like, oh, it's all good, like Eric is fine. Nah, he's not. He is not fine. This is wild. They wilding out there, like on us. And you need to know, like, for any of you that may have darker complexion kids, mixed kids, friends or family, this is happening to them. It can. And yeah, I grew up like not maybe thinking, oh, it was because I'm Black, like, because I didn't want to say that. I didn't want it to just be that, because I knew I was so much more than just Black. But now to see that it is that simple sometimes. It can be that simple, and it shouldn't be. I need to do something about that. So, yeah.
Can I ask, like, what about, how was it with people that you're connected to now? Like, in terms of, I mean, was everyone real supportive of the message that you sent out? Was it pretty, like, a positive response? And
Yeah, I mean, it all positive. People still are like, oh my gosh, yeah, I kind of remember that, or oh my gosh, like, I can't believe that happened to you. I'm getting positive responses. Yeah, I feel like it is eye-opening to have had me say something. I mean, unfortunately, I went through the experience, but now they are able to see, like, yo, okay, wow, even Eric, like, I'm not lucky to have avoided the drama, like, it shouldn't be happening. It's to all families included. No one should be able to have that happen, be snatched up out of your studies. Like, that's not fair. But like, yeah, really good response. I think encouraging almost. I know some people have hit me up and been like, I went to a protest today, and like, I'm pretty to myself. So maybe this was like the first time in a while people having even heard me. So that was good. Like, and now I'm getting messages in and stuff, and it's like, wow, one person can really do something. So it is good that's happening, and hopefully, like, I'm changing the perspective for some people. And like, because I'm just gonna say, I've known white families. I've been in white families, like dinner tables with white families, and their families are like, why y'all acting like that? Like, why is this? Why y'all weird? Like, why y'all do that? And I'm like, I don't really know. I can't speak for those people. I'm not them. Like, we would have to be there and wonder why. I mean, they probably wonder why you do some of these things, or why is it happening like this? But like, I have family that, like, I don't understand why everything's going on, because they live down there, they live up there. Like, so like, I can't speak for everyone, but now that I've had this experience and I don't feel like it's right, and like, I can see that I haven't been super supportive of the movements. Now I'm like, yo, like, we really have to recognize, like, it's unfortunate that it's happening so much. And yeah, maybe because I had education to kind of keep me out of the streets or out of this or out of that, it still found me. It still got me. Like, I thought I could get away from it, but the more you try, and maybe, I'm not trying to say I was trying to separate myself from my Black culture, my Black heritage, or anything. It's just, now I live in an area called Summerlin in Las Vegas, and it's a pretty nice neighborhood. There's, I mean, around me, I don't see as many Black families, but I will say, yeah, there's probably more white families. And even here, if there was to be an incident, where does the Black guy live? right here. So this could still happen. Like, doesn't matter what neighborhood I live in. They're gonna still see me as a black guy. They're not gonna be like, oh, he's the black guy in Summerlin. Okay, we should be really nice to him. Like, not gonna like, get out of your house. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. I don't
I
know
mean,
that.
like no, no, you know what? I think you do know, and I think that these things that you're saying, it's your experience, right? And I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think, you know, I know you're lighthearted about it, and you know, you're calm about it, but the seriousness of that for you is real. You know, because you had that, and you didn't have that before you had that experience, right? Like that's also an interesting piece, because I think that a lot of times, you know, whatever it might be, right? It's like that manifest destiny, right? If you think something negative is going to happen, you like bring it into the world, and then it's brought, you know, and then people think, you know, it's a way, I think it's a way that people think of things sometimes too, is like, well, you had a bad attitude and that's why that happened, and this is why that went on. And but you know, in the end, your steps through it are so logical. It's like, you know, I went outside and I saw I tried to figure out what this noise was, went inside, continued on with my life, opened the door because someone knocked. And then of course, like the second, I mean, for me too, like the second that there's cops, or you know, if I'm going to get in trouble with anything, your whole body gets tense. You know, you're getting to be in flight or fight mode in some way. And yeah, and you had that experience, and then you haven't had a good chance to like close it out. You still don't know why. You guess at why, right? They did it. You can guess all those things, but you tried to drop it, but it's still kind of hovering. I mean, it's hovering inside of your mind, like in some way, right? You know, it's a possibility. So, I mean, I think that's just really real, like what you're sharing. I appreciate it, and I I want to know, like, because I've been grilling you with like questions and questions, like one about, you know, just how your life is, like what'd you do after high school, and then this experience. But I don't know, is there anything that like you want to share, or say maybe that I didn't cover or didn't ask, or like something just you want to throw out there?
I don't know. I've just been speaking off the dome. Uh, yeah, like it's just I feel like at these times it is like an awakening to we all need to listen. Everyone needs to listen and see what it is. Don't just turn it off because you're tired of hearing about it. I've been in that situation before where your social media, your Instagram, it's all that. It's all like this or that. And then when it dies down, it goes back to like the way it used to be, which is like what you feed into with social media or whatever. Um, it kind of like that algorithm, however that works. But like I feel like right now, with so many people involved, so many cultures, it's global. This Black Lives Matter movement, and like we really do need to think about like how are we being portrayed? Like we being me and my people, you and your people, me in this country, like how are we being portrayed and how do we want to be? Like, are you like they put it out so simply. They're like, if you are, you know, silent, you are against us. Like you're not trying to change it. And that is so true. Like you might say that ew, I don't like this. But now we have to do something because we've been just saying, "Oh, we don't like this," or "Ooh, like that's not right. That sucks that happened, Eric." You know, or I'm like, "Oh man, that sucks that happened." But now I have to make sure that my kids don't go through that. My kids might be bad, but they might not be wrong. You know, so like I need to make sure to protect them, like do what I can, so that all people have knowledge, so that like I mean, I'm lucky to have gotten through that situation without raising my voice and just flipping out. So I need to share with all people. It's like, yo, we gotta listen to these cops if they're doing this stuff. There is a way to get out. Like, we can get out of this. And yeah, I don't know what I want to say. I
It's
feel like I had something, but I don't know.
I mean, I think no, I think that's really right. Like I think that's really powerful what you said. And maybe I think that the thing to wrap it up on, and maybe like a last thing that I would ask you is just for people that really want to, like, it's interesting, you've had a lot of support in your life, and that's something that's really come up a lot through our discussion, which is amazing, like, which is so wonderful, which is something that I it's something that like not everyone has. And even the fact that you went from this biomedical engineer background to like how like to Hollywood or performance or things like that, that's also so crazy that so many people were supportive. I mean, it's really rare. It's really rare to be surrounded by so many people that are so encouraging. And it says a lot about you because you surround yourself with people like that. But also too, I guess, what action or like what thing would you really like people that want to be an ally or that want to make a positive impact in this do? Like, what would be your request for them, or your, like, what would you want to tell them to do?
I would. What would I want? So, like, the thing not to do is to necessarily reach out to your black friends and necessarily ask them, what can I do? Um, but like, with good intentions, that if they're really your friends, then that it shouldn't be a problem. But honestly, what I would say to do is to ask, to look within, ask yourself deep down, is this okay? And if you know it's not okay, what do you do to things that aren't okay? You write them. So be it the protests, be it the media posts, be it the blackouts, like, educate yourself in what you're doing always and do it. Like, this isn't a sit down and wait situation. It's not that anymore. We have been doing that for a long time. But now things just aren't being, they're just not, things need to get done. It hasn't been fair, and we want to be fair. Like, I always, we're not a bad people, black people, and people like us. And so now that we're here to speak up and do and like have things to say, oh man, it's gonna be hard, because I see things like, they're like, oh man, it's crazy, like Kaepernick was kneeling, and like, now it's like, oh, he was right. And like, you think of that and you're like, he was right, I was wrong. Okay, I don't want to talk about it. Let's just keep moving. But it's like, just see that is, and try not to be wrong no more. like just keep it pushing. Don't feel so bad that you don't want to show your face. Like, don't feel so bad that you want to ignore it. Nah, that's wrong. Like, be like, all right, we fucked up. We're gonna keep it moving so we can do the right stuff. Like, dang, that's messed up. I don't want to be remembered for that. I want to be remembered for these good times. Like, yo, like, what can we do? How can we learn more from each other? And how can we just strengthen this system? Like, something's got to happen, and it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna be different because people are comfortable right now, and like, they don't want to change. And that is the old way, because the youngins, like, have people have integrated with each other. People are used to this. Things are different than the way they used to be. So you don't need to be scared of your neighbor. You don't need to be scared of these strangers, because you listen to their music, you watch them on TV, you go see movies with all types of people in them. TV shows are like full of color these days. I mean, there could be arguments on both sides of that, but comparatively, like, you've seen new kinds of people, you've heard different languages just around, so don't be fearful of that. Like, we really need to be trying to expand our minds and like find more comfort, or like comfort in getting out of the discomfort.
I
So
think, I mean, like, man, I think I just want to say thanks for taking the time to have a conversation. And like, this is, this is one perspective and one experience that you've had that has really shaped you. And sometimes those moments can go in a lot of different ways. And I really appreciate how you've taken it and how you've decided not to change, not to make it change your whole life, not to make it, switch who you are, and keep that kindness that you have, keep that drive, keep, you kept everything you were throughout that process. And that's really commendable. I mean, I think that's really impressive, that you continue to be a person that like has this integrity to move forward in that way. And also, I really like what you said, which is it's never too late to stop being wrong, right? Like at any point in time, you can decide to stop being wrong, and you can decide on how you want to leave that legacy for the world, and what you want to put into it, and how you want to shape it. So, man, I really appreciate it. And I don't know how to end this in the right way, but just thanks, man. Thanks.
hey, thank you, man. But yo, definitely thank you for coming through. And yo, like this was opening up for me.
Yeah.
This is awesome.